Hello, fellow exiles. May grace and peace be multiplied to you through our Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you for watching Hope for Exiles, this daily devotion series based on the book of 1 Peter. The theme of 1 Peter, again, is the hope that Christians have through the resurrection of Jesus. Hope that exists even and especially in the midst of trials and suffering. Go ahead and choose somebody in your family to read out loud our passage for today, 1 Peter 4, verses 12 through 19. Today's word of the day could really be the word of the whole book of 1 Peter. Suffer. This word comes up again and again in 1 Peter. In fact, if you want a little challenge today, a little exercise, I want you to skim through all of 1 Peter and count the number of times that Peter uses the word suffer, or suffered, or suffering. So go ahead and pause the video if you want to. Count all those up and we'll see if you come up with the right number. Don't worry, I'll be here when you get back after counting all of that. So how many did you come up with? It turns out Peter uses the word suffer 17 times in the book of 1 Peter. Did you get it? Did you at least get close? Not only does Peter use the word suffer, but he also uses words like fiery trial. And when I think of fiery trials, my mind immediately goes to the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. You're probably familiar with this story. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were exiles, hey, that sounds familiar, in Babylon. And they were ordered to bow down to the statue of King Nebuchadnezzar, but they refused to do so because they were obeying the true God, Yahweh, and would worship no one but him. So in anger, of course, they were thrown into the fiery furnace, all tied up. But as the people standing around were looking on, they said, hey, I thought we threw 3 people in there. There are 4 of them walking around, and they're no longer tied up. And so Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out, and Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians were forced to acknowledge that Yahweh was the true God. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego went through this fiery trial because of their faith in God. And that's the kind of suffering that Peter is talking about here. He's not talking about general suffering like pain or sickness or natural disasters. He's certainly not talking about the kind of suffering that comes when we do something wrong. As he says, let none of you suffer as a murderer or a thief or an evildoer or as a meddler. Yet if anyone suffers as a Christian, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify God in that name. He's specifically talking about suffering for the sake of being a Christian, being reviled, insulted, persecuted, because we bear the name of Jesus. However, it doesn't mean that Peter's words cannot apply to the general suffering that we undergo in this world because of sin also. We should expect to suffer in many and various ways during our time of exile here on earth. Yet through it all, we are called to rejoice. Why? Because when we suffer, we are sharing in Christ's suffering for us. In fact, around half of Peter's uses of the word suffer in this book refer to Jesus' suffering. It's a wonderful thing to realize that it's actually in our suffering, at the lowest of lows in our lives, that we see Jesus most clearly. Just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, we're actually able to see Jesus in the fiery furnace with them, to protect them and deliver them. Jesus promises to be with us And it's in our suffering that we can see him most clearly because he first suffered for us. And so, in the midst of suffering, we can rejoice because we know the end result of Jesus' suffering, resurrection and glory. And it will be the same result for us. After our time of exile, our time of fiery trials and suffering is over, we will receive the resurrection of our bodies and eternal glory with Christ in the new creation. Therefore, let those who suffer according to God's will entrust their souls to a faithful Creator while doing good. My question for you today is this. I want you to reflect on a fiery trial that you have undergone in your life, a time of suffering. How have you seen God work good as a result of that fiery trial, of that suffering? How has he worked good in your own life and in your own faith? Or how have you seen it result in good in the lives of others as you witness to them because of the suffering that you have endured? Go ahead and pause the video and have a discussion about that right now. For our time of prayer, Peter's words in verse 19, entrust their souls to a faithful Creator, reminds me of Martin Luther's words in his morning and evening prayers. Into your hands I commend myself. And so I'm going to pray Luther's morning prayer out loud, and you can join me in that. If you are watching this later in the day, I invite you and encourage you to look up his evening prayer and say that one instead. I thank you, my heavenly Father, through Jesus Christ, your dear Son, that you have kept me this night from all harm and danger. And I pray that you would keep me this day also from sin and every evil, that all my doings in life may please you. For into your hands I commend myself, my body and soul and all things. Let your holy angel be with me, that the evil foe may have no power over me. Amen. Our hymn of the day for today is found in your Lutheran service book number 532. This is most likely a new and unfamiliar song to you, The Head That Once Was Crowned with Thorns. But it's a perfect fit for what we've been talking about today. The head that once was crowned with thorns, Jesus' head, is crowned with glory now. And again, we too will receive our crown of glory after our time of exile is over. Until next time, peace to all of you who are in Christ.